They're specifically talking about these ancient tablets, which are, to me,
Yeah.
some of the most interesting things about ancient history, particularly what came out of ancient Sumer.
Yeah.
Ancient Sumer, when you look at their tablets and like, what are they saying? And why would they dedicate so much time to talking about this stuff?
Exactly.
Why do they have pictures of giant, enormous people-looking things with like a humanoid with a tail sitting on their lap? Like, what is this just fiction? Like, why would they detail this? And how do they have a representation of the solar system with the correct amount of planets and relatively the correct order and size? You know, it's not exact, but it's an artistic version of the real thing.
Yeah.
And how the hell, 6,000, 5,000 years ago, do they know that?
Yeah.
And what explanations do we have? Like, what's the conventional explanations when people tried to dismiss what they knew in ancient Sumer?
They say history is written by the victors. But what if the greatest war of all time was erased? Not a war between nations, not a war between kings, but a war between gods, buried in the Epic of Gilgamesh, etched into the Enuma Elish, preserved in Sumerian tablets older than the Bible, lies a story of beings who came from the stars, beings who ruled, beings who divided, beings who went to war through us. The tablets call them the Anunnaki, sky beings, lords who descended from the heavens. At the center of it all, two brothers, Enki, the bringer of knowledge, the one who sought to uplift mankind, Enlil, the stern commander, obsessed with order, obedience, and control. Their rivalry shaped the destiny of Earth. One offered humanity fire, the other a leash. This was the beginning of the wars of the gods.
The Epic of Gilgamesh, for people who don't know, is one of the oldest versions of a lot of the stories that you hear in the Bible. Very similar to them. There always seems to be a great flood. There's a few heroes. There's angry gods. There's a bunch of stuff going on.
In the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving works of literature, we find the echoes of divine conflict. Gilgamesh himself, 2/3 God, 1/3 man, set out on a quest for immortality. But surrounding his tale are whispers of giants. They were the Nephilim of Genesis, the heroes of renown, beings of immense size and hunger, born from the union of gods and mortals. The tablets reveal not just their power, but their downfall. Empires burned, wars consumed the land. And when the gods grew fearful of what they had created, they unleashed destruction.
In the Epic of Atrahasis, there is this strike of this either an asteroid or whatever it is that's going to hit. It doesn't specifically say, but they had the ability to stop it. And there's this other disc that has cuneiform writing on it, which is supposedly the direction that this thing took course through space to hit Earth. And so it was kind of known that this was going to happen. And everywhere you look on the Earth around that same time period that this is estimated to happen, megalithic construction stopped. What happened that everyone stopped at the same time, unfinished in the quarry, unfinished in the quarry over here, unfinished in the quarry? All of a sudden around the entire planet, everything is unfinished. Something happened globally that made people stop working on these structures and go to maybe Darren Kuyu underground base, or in the Americas, that, you know, they say that the ant people, the Hopi say the ant people took them under. If you couldn't go under and save yourself, you had a ship. We know that Ziusudra in the Epic of Gilgamesh was told how to build the ship, but it wasn't a boat like what we know was said in the Bible. It was actually a disc he was told to build. We found the tablet for that, so we have the tablet in the British Museum. It was an actual disc that looked like pie sections on the inside.
The flood was not unique to the Bible. It appears in the Sumerian Atrahasis, the Babylonian Enuma Elish, the Hindu Vedas, and native legends around the world. But in the Sumerian version, it was not sin that doomed humanity. It was genetics. Enlil demanded extermination. The hybrids, the giants, the rebels, wiped away in water. But Enki whispered survival, a chosen bloodline preserved in secret. And so, humanity began again. not cleansed, but reset.
Thousands of years before the Bible was written, when Yahweh, aka Enlil, shows back up, sees the human beings building a tower into the heavens, copying a tower that they themselves had built, it pissed him off, and he said, whatever their hearts decide to do, they shall achieve it. My seed shall not abide in man, his years will be 120. And then he did a genetic modification at that point, I believe, with the telomeres, and he spread mankind out around the planet, and he confused their languages. He had us speaking different languages, so we couldn't collaborate. Now we're in competition, no collaboration, divide and conquer.
After the flood, humanity rebuilt. Cities rose, empires expanded, and then a tower, the Tower of Babel. According to Genesis, God shattered their unity by scattering their tongues. But the Sumerian version reveals more. It was Enlil again, terrified that humanity might rise too high, too fast. And so lifespans were shortened, tribes scattered, languages divided. The tower was not destroyed by pride. It was destroyed by fear.
The craziest version of this story is that they genetically engineered us out of lower primates and put us here to mine gold.
Right.
And then established different types of civilizations and taught us how to build things, taught us all these different things. And enough time has passed that we've kind of forgotten. Enough time has passed. That's the wackiest version of it, right?
Right. That's the bare bones minimum.
Yeah, the wackiest version is that they made us.
But what's crazy is they go to war, they get ready to go to battle, and then Enki says, I have an idea that will stop this war. There's an existing being on this planet. Existing, not something that doesn't exist, existing. We can add our essence to it with a slain god. So they're talking about taking the DNA or genetics from one of themselves and mixing it with the DNA of the hominid that was here. It's not specified whether it was, an ape man or anything, but they don't specify in the tablets, but to create a worker being. And they began to do this genetic modification. They inserted something called a worship gene, which was just discovered recently, that human beings have a gene inside of them that can be turned on and turned off. It can be turned off in a laboratory setting. It can also be turned off with a magnetic field around your head. And when it's off, you don't want to worship anything outside of yourself. You look inside, and when it's on, you look to get something from the outside. So this is incredible.
The tablets speak of clay figures brought to life by divine seed. But was this mythology or genetic engineering? Modern DNA reveals a mystery. 46 chromosomes in humans, where our primate cousins have 48, as if fused artificially. The Anunnaki did not just create workers, they created worshipers, a species bound by design, seeking gods outside themselves.
Also Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley up there by Pakistan. And the reason why it's interesting is if you look at the war in the text and then go to those areas, it looks now almost you can begin to see, oh, wait a minute, it looks like war. Mohenjo-Daro, Indus Valley, the buildings turned to glass. The sand turned to glass, and the bodies are still laying in the street right now today, holding hands, never been scavenged by animals. So
wait a minute, where is this?
Mohenjo-Daro.
Are there photos that we can look at?
Oh yeah, look it up. Mohenjo-Daro, Indus Valley, dead bodies still laying in the street thousands of years later. And
nobody
guess what?
they just lay there? No one's covered them up?
Nobody's covered them up. Yeah, when you put a Geiger counter over them, higher than background level radiation. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. And
but aren't stones higher than background level radiation?
Some stones are. Some stones are, especially like diorite and crystal granite. But these bodies, these are just bones. How come they're higher than background level radiation?
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
Why haven't I ever heard of this?
Mohenjo-Daro, M-O-H-E-N. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is evidence of a nuclear war or nuclear type of
Go back to the
war.
other, that one there. That one's insane.
Yeah. There's bodies that are sitting on the edge of steps next to their own buildings that they lived in. The building is turned to glass. That's 3,000 plus degree temperature weapons fire.
So there's a bunch of people that seem to die all at once, just scattered around?
Yeah.
And what's the conventional explanation for how these people died?
They have no idea. They have zero idea. The only thing
that was just a couple, Jamie. Go to the other, just the Mohenjo-Daro mythical massacre.
Yeah.
So did they think it's a massacre? Is there any? Yeah,
their
the guy's just laying there.
Laying there. And that building, those stones are vitrified, which means 3,000 plus degree temperature.
Oh shit.
What could have caused that level of temperature? They have weapons called the Brahma-astra and the Brahma-handa weapon, and these weapons, what they describe them as doing, duplicate what you saw there.
How do they describe them?
They describe them as weapons that once released can't be revolted or can't be turned back, and that they will obliterate any area, any city. And they say that one of the weapons can destroy any man on 3 worlds. It's crazy stuff. And this is where Oppenheimer got his famous quote when he obviously tested the nuke, right? Now I have become death, destroyer of worlds. He got that from the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great.
The Mahabharata, India's epic, describes weapons that burn brighter than 1,000 suns, projectiles that scorched the earth, poisoned generations, and left cities in ruin. In Mohenjo-Daro, scientists found evidence of vitrification, stone melted into glass, radiation levels that spike even today. The wars of men were only echoes, shadows of greater wars, wars of the gods.
And it's an incredible tablet that talks about the reigns of kings.
Yeah.
Some kings ruled for 28,800 years, 14,000 years. I mean, 20,000. If the numbers are insane.
These are not Egyptian? This is
not Egyptian. These are Anunnaki. This is pre-flood. This is antediluvial. And then when the flood comes, it talks about, and then the flood swept over the land. After the flood happens, then they descend kingship from heaven back down to humans, and then the reigns of humans begin. But they're not really full humans. They're demigods. They're half human, half Anunnaki. And then their lifespans are like much shorter because their ruling times are only like 1,000 years and 800 years and 700 years, and it starts to go down.
Which is why like Noah was 600 years old.
Right, exactly.
So these tablets, what are they called again?
You're talking about the Sumerian King's List.
The King's List is not poetry. It is record of rulers who reigned for tens of thousands of years, of lifespans shrinking after the flood, of divine kingship lowered back to earth. These were not ordinary men. They were hybrids, half human, half divine. And their wars wrote the story of earth. The Epic of Gilgamesh, the flood, the tower, the wars of the gods, not scattered myths, but fractured memories of a time erased. If humanity was shaped by hands not of this earth, then their war still lives on. In our DNA, in our myths, in our search for truth, they tried to bury the past, but whispers remain. If you can hear them, you are already awake. Like this video, share the knowledge, and subscribe to Whispers of the Anunnaki, because the war is not over. It has only been forgotten.